In this video, I'm just going to give you a few little weird pieces of information about stretching canvas onto stretcher bars for painters. Stay tuned. This is Kelly Borsheim, and let you follow along with my painting processes. Hey, hi, this is Kelly Borsheim again. I feel that matrimonial beds, large wide beds, are actually made for artists because I personally always need tables. Anyway, no, I don't like those sheets. They were a gift from a young artist who left the country and gave them to me. Like other people like to just dump stuff on me, and then it's easy for them because they don't have to get rid of it. They just give me it. But I use this stuff mostly. Anyway, yesterday I made the video about setting up a new still life. I want this proportion of the stretcher bars. I want the image to be this long and not that shorter, wider one. However, I bought a roll of this canvas many years ago because I did a series of, I actually took photos of models as I traveled around the United States, male models, because I wanted to do a series of male nudes with animals. And I just haven't gotten to it. But sadly, I bought these huge stretcher bars with that whole roll of canvas to make these really large paintings. I've only started on one and set it aside because I got stuck. So when I unrolled this piece, I was surprised that I had this shorter piece here already cut. It's not to the measurements. The paintings I have the stretcher bars for are 100 centimeters by 120. Anyway, I'm trying to figure out how to fit these in here because I need to have enough to roll around. And at first I thought, well, maybe I want to keep this wide enough, the canvas. This is actually linen canvas, by the way. You see how it's white on this side? And then it's got the dark natural weave. Anyway, I was debating about, do I want to leave the canvas large enough in case the proportion with the pumpkin stuff changes? I have the option of not having to redo the painting, but just to extend the painting. But then as I set this one side by side, because I want to have an efficient use. Do you see how when I come over here at this end, I don't really have a lot of canvas left. By the time I've wrapped that around and then wrap this around another stretcher bar, I would make a small narrow painting like this. So what do I want to do with that? Well, in this case, I realized if I put this here, there's enough material for me possibly to wrap this if I'm smart about it. So that's what I'm going to do. And I can cut it here and get a little bit wider painting out of this left because I hate to waste anything, you know. So, and you know, you can always make a small painting also. Okay, so getting back to the canvas. I have these stretcher bars. I've stored them for years, and you can see that this one has been stapled, but I wouldn't necessarily trust it to be right. So I want to put this little right angle thing here, and I want to actually see, is it at a right angle? Even in here, I can control it. And I'm going to do this on each four corners because I find that I am not all that patient with measuring. What I mean by that is that I can measure something 5 times and get 5 different answers. So it also means when I'm trekking out for straightness, theoretically 1 or 2 corners should be enough, but I always check all 4 because I don't want to make a mistake that maybe I was just too rushed and thought, oh, everything's going to be okay, which I tend to do quite a lot, actually. And that's part about the art thing, is knowing your brain. So let's put this here just to see if these are straight. You see, I can put that here and check that, and okay. Because it could, look at that. You see how crooked that is? Probably, you see there's a slot right there? I just hit that with a hammer going that way and hit this with that way, and it's fine. Mostly it's just a structural thing, this one, to keep the rest from going. But all 4 corners are good. So then I'm going to measure out enough to wrap around the thickness of this bar and then tape it on the back, because I prefer to do the gallery wrap system. Means it wraps, the canvas wraps around the side to the back. And that way you end up offering a possible frameless work if you want to do that. So it can save the customer money. It gives it a different look for one. The frame actually tends to make things look finished, especially if you're going to do classical realism art. It seems kind of weird to leave it frameless. However, if you're doing a lot of shows and stuff and you just can't afford the frames, And also, sometimes customers will reframe stuff you bought. You put it in anyway because they have different tastes than what you might have, or in my case, what my framer has, because I let the framer do a lot of stuff. All right, so now that I've done that, I want to show you this side here is the front. And how do I know that? It's because if you can see at this angle here, I don't know if the manipulation of the phone, this is beveled. Do you see how it's narrower? It's narrower inside than it is on the outside, okay? And so this is the beveled side. And this side here, where everything is flush flat, that is the back side. So when I wrap this, I'm going to pull this here. And you see what I did here? I marked what I paid for this, and then I also put this dimension so that I don't have to keep looking up the dimension. Ironically, I'm probably going to cover some of that up. I don't have to. I just need to really wrap this around, and I will stretch this canvas here with just enough to wrap me around and give some time here stuff, okay? So that's it. And then I'll cut this canvas here and stretch it and then start the composition. Okay, I forgot to show you the tools that I'm going to use. Now, I took this wee little hammer here and tapped it a little bit here and a little bit here until visually I got a straight line. All right, this is the canvas pliers, okay? Do you see how they're pleated there? That gives them a really good tight grip on the fabric. Linen is a bit of a princess when it's compared to cotton canvas. It's thicker, and with cotton, if it gets, if you put an indent or something, let's say you lean it up against something and you kind of get a little indent, a lot of times on the back side of the canvas, you can put a little spray of water or maybe even sponge a little bit of water on, let the canvas dry, keep it stretched, let the canvas dry, and it just tightens up again. Linen doesn't exactly do that, and I tend to not want to put water on it just because I'm getting paranoid about mold now and stuff. But anyway, it tends to be a little bit of a princess because it's a thicker material. But anyway, what I'll do is I'll basically cut this. Now, wait a minute, let me show you this. Do you see how you have the hammerhead shark here? And this is a flat plane here. Okay, so the flat plane is what, as you're pulling to go across, you put this in between here, and then you pull that. Oops, sorry, it's hard to handhold and talk. You let the flat part be against that thing. So it really doesn't matter how you do it, as long as you get your own system. But I think many years ago I read on a YouTube thing that I think people tend to start with the corners and work in. But, you know, of course, you're going to have to alternate because you've got to pull the canvas tight this way, but also that way. So, you know, if you put one here, you want to put one across there to kind of lock those in. But you also want to be stretching it so you don't get tight, 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 and you have these waves all this way, okay? But I think I read on the internet, it's been a long time since I've stretched canvas, but I think I read the tip really is to start in the center. Stretch the center both directions, and then, you know, work your way out on the long dimensions, work your way out on the smaller ones. Don't finish this whole side here before it. Do it proportionally. I like to start here, and then if I go here, I'll go maybe up to here on this one, and then, you know, a little bit here, and the equivalent there. So I'm about halfway when I'm halfway here. But, and work your way out to the corners, and then the thing just sort of does itself, you know. Oh, what was I going to say? Oh, I have an opinion about this particular tool. I am not a person who enjoys stretching canvas. I don't really enjoy anything that involves symmetrical thinking and stuff like that. So that's one of my limitations. One wonderful thing about art and maybe learning anything is learning more about how your brain works and what your strengths are and what your not so strengths are. Anyway, I still find this investment to be really good, because if you end up making a lot of paintings, there will be times when you're either going to trash a painting but want to use the stretcher bars, or you're just going to need to reframe something, or, you know, whatever. Or maybe somebody gives you a bunch of stretcher bars and you need to take advantage of not wasting that material. So I think it's a good tool to have, and it's one of those things that it's probably better not to borrow from another artist unless you see that person quite frequently, because otherwise you put that other person at a disadvantage if they're having to wait for your stuff. So in this case, I like to, I mean, these are some nails that I think some artist gave me. They're short little nails and they go in quite well. But I tend to like to use thumbtacks at the beginning because it could be that a little bit into the painting I'll need to stretch it again, or just tighten it up a wee bit. You can see they've got the holes there, but those aren't really big enough to put those little spacers in, because you just put those little angled wedges of wood in and then hit with the hammer over here, tap it in both directions, and it just separates this a bit. It tightens up the canvas. But I find that, especially if you did this, I'm not really sure. I think maybe an artist did that to stabilize it. Maybe the connections weren't so good or something, because I don't really think that's probably a good practice. I think sort of the whole point of the way these things are wedged together, you see the little dovetail type thing, is probably to give it a little bit of flexibility when you go. So anyway, that's a side note. So I'm gonna trim this, measure it to my best so that I can still have enough canvas to actually make something worth painting. And then I'm gonna stretch it. I will probably not stretch this other one because I'm not at a point right now where I'm painting a whole lot. Plus, I have a lot of other projects I left so that I could do the pumpkin before the oak leaves and acorns turn brown. So I feel like I'm switching focus now while letting the oil paints dry on the other stuff. Because of that, I tend to want to leave my stretcher bars, if they were already nude in the first place, leave them without stuff, because I can puncture it. I feel like if I roll it up in the canvas like this, you see, I can store it much safer and also a lot less space. So that's what I'm going to do. All right, I just wanted to lay that out so I could strategically plan how to best use this piece of canvas. Okay, thanks for watching. Leave your comments and questions below. And if you like this video, please put the thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell button if you would like to have notifications of new postings. Thanks so much. Ciao, ciao. All right, and here we go. I have finished the canvas. It's not perfect. There's a little little bubble in one of these places here. Let's see if I can show you. See a little bit of indent there? But I re-stretched this one here closest to it. And later on, I'm going to probably tighten it up again. But this is what it looks like on the back. You can see I didn't put them so often. But here, you see the little shadow that's in here? That's because of the bevel. And that's a good thing, because when you're painting, if the stretcher bar comes up right up against this, as you do your brush strokes, you're going to push into that. And you're going to leave a line here, especially if you wipe away something. So the bevel is really a helpful kind of thing. Thanks for watching. I'm going to get setting up and soon to be painting. Ciao, ciao. Hi, so this is Kelly Borsheim, and we're going to continue what I just did last night. I can't remember what I left off last night on videotaping. So I have a canvas that I have covered with a black, turns out it was a waxy gel on a canvas that I found somebody had put in the trash, and I wanted to use it. So I'm using it now to keep to absorb the light. It's not a shiny black. It's got a black acrylic paint over it. But anyway, I did this. I have the cardboard, or a piece of black construction paper here, and it's just leaning against the wall because I've been pulling this forward because light is shining right onto this, or the shadow of this is covering this. So anyway, I bought a new light bulb because last night this light started flickering on me, and I had to be in town for other things and buy oil for my car and stuff. So anyway, one of the things I was trying to do is keep a little bit of light on here, but the focus on this subject area. Now, and again, I talked about the candlelight. I may torch that up. I've stretched the canvas. I showed it. I made another little video on that. I don't know when I'm going to put all these together, but I stretched a canvas temporarily. I don't worry about getting it perfect because I'll re-stretch it closer to the end. But I set it up so that it's kind of got the height that I want. This is going to divide this line here where I want. So I have it set up for sight size. But like I said, I'm not really sure how I'm going to pull that off. I have this up here, but the candle flame, if I left it at sight size, would be way up here. I don't think I like the light that far up. And as I mentioned before, this proportion is similar enough to this proportion. I don't particularly like it. So right now, this is a warm light. I try to buy a yellow one similar to this, but I'm going to use this until it's actually kaput, and then change it out and hope this is the same kind of thing. So anyway, right now what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn off that overhead fluorescent light, and let's see what drama that I have here. Now you'll note that I put into a bowl my little thing so that it can have some water and have a chance to stay a little bit livelier. Once I set up the position, I won't touch it. So because this is probably the most perishable, with that being second, my first goal is going to be to sketch in the actual shapes. Okay, once I do that, I may actually torch this. We may do it tonight, depending on how I feel. But let's go shut off the lights. Make me look good. Do you see the dramatic change that just happened from that? Now, I want you to notice that I just have one light, and it's lighting the canvas and it's lighting the sculpture. I mean, the setup. That means that I can never ever change the position of that light, because otherwise I'm going to start changing that. Now, do you see how all this is in shadow? This is actually causing a line here, and I don't know that I like that. But from this point of view, well, actually that's not true. Let me take off the bottle of the water here, because these would be maybe here, for example. Put that on my footstool. Okay, so let me stand back and look, because the diagonal line is going to be a little bit distracting. Do you see what I'm talking about here? But also, I'm not sure that I like this totally in the dark. If I light the fire up here, or even if I have the fire here, that's not going to light any of this. So what I want to think about doing is pulling this forward a bit to catch a little bit of light from here. See what I think about it. And feel free to add your comments into this. I realize by the time that I make this video, I probably will have decided the composition and charge on it. I'm not sure what I think about this, but I'll tell you what. This easel is pushed up against the wall. Also, I made the easel as vertical as I can possibly do. So I want to pull this. Let me move my, oh, I can't move my carpet because it's on the thing. Okay, the other thing I wanted to point out is right now I have this straight and this straight. But my point of view from painting this is going to be straight from the canvas. Okay, I'm going to walk back and forth straight in the canvas. What that means is that this line is going to be at an angle. Okay, so what I'm going to do is angle this. As I pull it forward to get more light, I'm going to angle this toward my point of view that's about 2 meters away from the canvas. Okay, so let's get going on that. Now I have to be careful because this piece of board right here is resting on the table that's underneath it. I have another one of these that I use for still life. It's underneath there, so I don't want that to come crashing to the bottom in the back. One, because my neighbor is actually sleeping now, and it's not really nice to have a big boom, because it's probably about 10:30 at night right now. All right, so let's see how this goes. I'm going to be careful because I have a setup next to this too. So I'm going to pull it forward. I'm really trying to not lift it too much because I'm not supposed to lift heavy things with my back. But let's angle this a little bit more, watching that wood. So let me stand back and see what damage I've done. Okay. I'm not sure what I think about it. Now, here's another thing. This is, I like the saying, some famous artist said this, or one of my friends, I don't remember, but it was like when somebody criticized something that they had painted, they said, I'm not painting a person, I'm making a painting. And it's kind of a subtle meaning if you're going into realism, but what they're really saying is, I'm putting pigment on a canvas and I'm making a design. I don't really care what the model is, okay? So there's that thought to that. So in that respect, maybe this dark shape here doesn't really matter so much. I don't know. It would really depend on the finished product. But I'm still not sure I like that, but I'm afraid to move this a little bit more. So what if The pumpkin's pretty heavy, so I'm going to pull just the table forward, but I'm afraid I may lose my paper here, but I just want to see what happens if I get, now you see I'm starting to get some light there. It could be interesting, I don't know. I don't know if I want the body of the beeswax to show, but I kind of think it's a nice balance in the oranges. Do you see? It's an orange and that's a little bit of a different yellow, so maybe that would be a nice composition to make. And let's see from my point of view if I like where the green is. The green has a little bit to the left here. So anyway, maybe I want more of that to be there. See, I'm still getting a lot of light because the light's in front of the canvas. If I had lit it in the back and stuff, it would have a different story. But let's see. You know, this is also one of the things that I really enjoy about taking pictures is that when you see your photograph, you see the art in a different way. Do you see how I have a little bit of light here and a little bit here? Now, the eye is going to be different from the photograph. Right now I'm recording this in the vertical on my phone and also the horizontal on my Sony. So what I noticed when I look at the screens on those cameras, the Sony looks like it's really, really dark in here. But I also know that those are all digital factors and variables, and so that's not necessarily how the video is going to turn out. But I want you to notice those sorts of things. If I have this too far back, and pull that out to get more dark shadowing here. Although the only light that's going to happen is this light here bouncing off the distant wall and coming in. It's probably negligible. And if it really bothered me, I'd put something else black here to darken this a little bit and put more of the focus here where the light is. So now I'm going to try something else. Right now, I don't know if you can see the light where I have thing. It's just a clip-on, okay? It's just one of these guys. I've got it high because I like that angle. So now I'm going to move it a little bit further on my bookshelf, put it further out this way. Do you see how that changes? Again, as I said, I don't want it too much toward the front because it's going to flatten everything. But the angle light is pretty, but now I have this totally in light. I'm not sure that I want it quite that obvious. I like a little bit of mystery there. Plus, look at what a freaky shadow that puts in there with the diagonal going in the back. Do you see the diagonal going in the back there? So I may not want the light quite like that. It does actually put more light evenly on my surface there. But, oh, here's an idea too. All right, so I have a tall, narrow canvas, so I'm not going to be able to fit all of this onto that. You see the Kelly measure? So this is 40 centimeters. Let's say 40 centimeters and I've got it at an angle here. 40 centimeters. If I include all of that, I don't need to include all of that, but I also don't need to include all of this. So I think 40 centimeters is probably just right. It gets all of that stuff in. So the thing is, I wanted this to be behind this for an overlap to, again, put distance. But now I'm thinking if I move that light forward, maybe I can move this back. Also, if I don't like that light here, I can make a shadow thing here and put that in the dark. These are all artistic license kind of things, and if I just find that light background too distracting, I just darken it all and whatever. So buttons on your underwear. Goofball. I'm not sure about the candle. So I think what I'm gonna do is pull this light a little bit between the two spaces that I had. Okay. And maybe I should angle it more. I don't know. No, I don't want too much bright on the beeswax thing. What if I pull this back now? Do I like that? I don't know. We're back to that line being there. Maybe that's... I don't know. I don't know. But you know, there is a thing that makes me kind of feel like I want to get started, and the thing is, the setup takes a long time. Oh, I have a precarious situation here. angle that back a wee bit because I don't want it falling at all. But I really need the light here. The thing is, you usually set up quite a lot of, you spend a lot of time on a setup, but when you have perishable models, you've got to figure out a way to limit that, because even a cluster of grapes, which I found out on the painting of Helene Voss, you'd think cluster of grapes, I'll use the light going through it as a model and keep my same shapes here, but it doesn't work that easily. So what I noticed when I stepped back is I didn't like how even this is with this line of the leaf. So I want to raise up one of them or the other, I'm not sure which. Like that cluster here. I could make them all lower, I don't know. You know, the thing is, I just got done moving them all without actually looking at the effect. Now, from my point of view, the candlestick is more to the right, and the green is there. I kind of like that, but I'm not sure if I want one of the acorns to fall off the edge too. Maybe I want more shadow by having it twist. So you see what I did there? I hope you can see all the effects that are happening to help you decide composition. Now, again, there's no right or wrong to this. It is absolutely your own point of view. So it's just a matter of what appeals to you. What I do like about this is that there's some ground space between this part and this part. This cuts in front of that. So again, it's an overlap thing, giving me some depth. I'm not sure that I want this so much close to the edge of this. So let me pull this up over here into that. Take off that little piece of dust or whatever that is. Little defects that are in your fabrics. Now that turned out worse for me, because now I don't like this straight line going right up into the composition, and it may even be right smack dab in the middle. So let me soften this line by curving this around. Make sure, I hope I'm not standing in front of that for the one. I want it to look natural, which is kind of funny because I don't really know what natural looks like on a still life. It's a little bit softer, but I end up having now this angle going into this. I'm not sure that I like that so far in the middle of the composition. So what if I don't have these things touching? What would it look like if I did like this or something? Even have that going over the edge there, I don't know. More of the tassels sort of together, does that change anything? I don't know what I think about that. Because it sort of makes the acorns not so much connected. Plus, from my point of view now, I've got a straight diagonal with this, so I don't know that I actually like that so much. What about maybe this? Do you see how time can really go away, that by the time I've gotten to where I kind of like this, I might be too tired to stay up. I'm trying to go to bed at a normal hour and not just do this 3 a.m., 4 a.m. kind of thing. I mean, it sounds romantic like an artist kind of stuff, but it also kicks me in the head because right now it is October 10th, and maybe I like that. One thing I don't like is that the curvies of this are going straight down into the top of this leaf. It's a little bit too much. So I'm going to turn this maybe a little bit this way. Look at one guy's up. Look, isn't that great how they're all such different little directions? That's actually kind of sweet. Let's see if I can pull this maybe away here. I don't know. Okay, this is rocking. So what I want to do is get something thin that will stay there. I've got a wood piece. This is just a little piece of wood that you use for canvas, you know, to put into the corners here to stretch the canvas out again. So I'm going to use this and because the wood on the flooring is not even, and frankly the candlestick may not be even either. But what you find is when you do a classical sort of setup like this, you kind of want this board here to be an actual horizontal, and you want all your verticals to be verticals. That gives the stability of the architecture and stuff like that, and a calming sense, because we trust things that look strong to us. Now, you know, this shadow that's here is not all that interesting, and maybe it would be fun to have there. You see how I'm getting the shadow of an oak now? Getting into that. And I like this little one sort of pointing backwards into that. I like that, but I'm now back to the same problem of this flow line here. Going back, this coming right into that. So let me say, if I move this over, put a little upcast, I'm still getting oak leaf quality. I don't like the stains on that. Some of that's water, but one of them is a grease stain from the original wood. Okay, I rather like that. And at this point, I'm not sure what I'm going to think about the candle in full light. I can manually darken that, obviously. But I think what I'm going to do is start the drawing now so that I can get in what I like about this. And let me go get my torch stuff and I'll start a fire. Oh wait, yeah, let me shut it off because it makes the videos easier to put together.